Hi, it's me. From decaying dolls to haunting messages left behind, here are 10 of the most disturbing things found in an abandoned place. Number 10. The Whispering Gallery. The Whispering Gallery is a part of the Rannoch Moor, which is a large area of land on the west coast of Scotland. It was used for centuries to herd sheep until the mid-19th century when the population decreased and the land was abandoned. A strange thing happened here during the construction of the bridge over the river Feel. Workers heard voices coming from the rocks and they believed that these were the whispers of those who died while working on the bridge. There have been reports of hearing voices even more recently, with some saying the voices warned them to leave the area. When scientists came to explain this phenomenon, they discovered that the acoustics of the gorge caused sound waves to bounce off the rock faces and echo through the valley, making it sound like there were multiple people speaking. They also explained that the wind could make the trees rustle and create more noises, but there are still skeptics who say this doesn't explain why there are voices in the first place. So, are the spirits of the dead still haunting the Whispering Gallery? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Number 9. An abandoned house in Brazil. A man bought an old house in Brazil in order to restore it, but he soon realized that his project would be much harder than he anticipated. As he started to remove the debris, he came across a hidden room. Inside the room, he found an old wooden box with a lock. He didn't have the key, so he had no choice but to break it open. To his surprise, the box contained many scary porcelain dolls that looked like they had come straight out of a horror movie. The discovery shocked him, and he quickly closed the box back up. Unfortunately, he had disturbed them too much, and the dolls seemed to have come to life, following him around the house, moving objects and shaking the beds. He tried to ignore it at first, but then he became frightened enough that he called in a priest to perform an exorcism. Since then, nobody has lived in the home, and it remains empty to this day. Number 8. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In 1962, 9 members of an amateur ski expedition died in the northern Ural Mountains, near a ski resort. It wasn't clear how they died at first, so their bodies were sent to Leningrad for autopsies. However, after the results came back inconclusive, the bodies were sent back to their families and buried. At first, the Russian government said they had died because of an avalanche, but eyewitnesses claimed this wasn't true, and the truth only came out decades later. After careful analysis of the bodies and the circumstances surrounding their deaths, it was concluded that they had been victims of an early Cold War experiment. During the height of the space race, Russia was keen to show that their technology was superior, so they wanted to test the effects of low temperature on the human body. They chose 9 people at random and put them in a small cabin in the middle of nowhere. Then they lowered the temperature to minus 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This caused frostbite and hypothermia, and they all died within hours. What is truly disturbing about this is that it took almost 50 years for the government to admit what they had done. Number 7. An abandoned hospital in Japan. In 1964, the Japanese government built a hospital on Hashima Island, which was once a thriving mining town. It was designed to help cure tuberculosis, but it was abandoned just a decade later. Now it's known as Gunkanjima Hospital, or the Battleship Island Hospital, because it looks like the upper decks of a ship that has been beached. But it isn't quite as abandoned as you might think. It is rumored that there are still some patients and staff living inside the hospital who refuse to leave. Some believe they're ghosts, but others claim they're real people. There have been sightings of shadowy figures walking the corridors and disembodied voices coming from the operating rooms. Even though the island is off limits to tourists, people still visit at night to see if they can catch a glimpse of the supernatural activity. Number 6. An underground tunnels. In 1936, the first underground tunnel was built in New York City to transport goods and mail beneath the congested streets. However, it was quickly abandoned after complaints from residents about the noise. The tunnels were then repurposed and used to store water, but this caused problems since groundwater seeped in and flooded the tunnels. It was then decided that the tunnels should be filled with trash instead. For several decades, thousands of tons of garbage were dumped in the tunnels every year. It was then covered up with soil and turned into a park. For many years, people enjoyed the green space without knowing the horrific things lurking below. Then in 2013, someone opened a manhole cover and accidentally released a swarm of rats into the city. This caused panic, and the New York Health Department quickly set up a task force to capture them. Since then, the tunnels have been sealed off and it's illegal to enter. Number 5. Insane asylum dolls. In 1841, the first insane asylum was established in At the time, mental illness was poorly understood and patients were treated horribly. One of the most disturbing things was that doctors believed the insane could be cured by trephination, which is a process of drilling a hole into the skull. It was based on the belief that mental illness was caused by an imbalance of fluids in the brain, but it did nothing to help, and many patients died. Eventually, the practice was banned, but before that, many patients were subjected to the procedure. Today, we know that this was a barbaric practice that had no scientific basis, but back then, it was seen as a legitimate form of treatment. What's really disturbing is that there are still some of the dolls used in the trephination process on display in museums. Number 4. Underground Nazi base. In 1943, Hitler ordered the construction of a secret base near the Polish city of Krakow. The base was designed to protect him from Allied bombing raids, but it was never finished. After the war ended, the base was abandoned and sealed with explosives. They explored the tunnels and found bizarre symbols carved into the walls. It was clear that this was a place of darkness and evil, so the teenagers quickly fled. Since then, the base has remained sealed off to the public, and it is rumored to be haunted by the ghosts of those who died there. Number 3. An abandoned school bus. 3 friends were driving down a country road in Georgia. They saw a school bus parked on the side of the road. They had seen it many times before, but on this occasion, they decided to investigate. What they found inside the bus was shocking. The seats had been ripped out and replaced with shelves and cabinets. There was also a trap door in the floor, which led them to believe that the bus was being used for smuggling drugs. They called the police, but when they arrived, they found no evidence of any criminal activity. It seems that the bus had been abandoned many years ago, and the locals had simply taken it upon themselves to repurpose it. Number 2. The Walls of Jericho. The Walls of Jericho are an ancient structure located in the West Bank. According to the Bible, they were destroyed by Joshua and his followers as they entered the city. This event is known as the Fall of Jericho, and it is said to have taken place around 1200 BC. There is no archaeological evidence to support this claim. Many historians believe that the story is nothing more than a myth. Despite this, people still visit the site of the alleged destruction every year to take part in a reenactment of the event. Number 1. Dead soldiers in the desert. In 2003, American soldiers discovered a mass grave in the middle of the Iraqi desert. It contained the bodies of hundreds of Iraqi soldiers who had been killed in the war. The soldiers were able to identify the bodies because they were wearing uniforms, but their faces had been mutilated beyond recognition. The soldiers were horrified by what they had found and immediately reported it to their superiors. The military quickly organized a burial ceremony, and the bodies were laid to rest with full honors. While this is a tragic story, it's important to remember that war is never the answer. These men were once alive and had families who loved them. They should be remembered and honored. Which of these abandoned places would you love to explore? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and come back soon for another terrifying video from our channel. See you next time. Hello everyone, I'm your host, and today we will travel to some places that were once bustling with life, but are now left behind. The remnants of these places can tell us a lot about the people who once inhabited them, their way of life, their beliefs, and even their fears. Sometimes what we find can be beautiful or intriguing, like old photographs or personal items left behind by mistake. However, sometimes we stumble upon things that are not only shocking, but also disturbing. These are the most unsettling discoveries that have ever been made in an abandoned place. One day, an urban explorer was wandering through an abandoned house when he noticed something strange in one of the rooms. What he found was a collection of dolls. Not just any dolls, but creepy porcelain dolls, with blank stares and eerie smiles. The room was filled with these dolls, all lined up neatly on shelves, or sitting in corners, as if waiting for something. It was a truly unsettling sight that made the explorer feel uneasy. He quickly snapped some pictures and shared them online, where they quickly went viral. People were shocked and disturbed by the image of these abandoned dolls and the story of the haunted house. Some even claimed to see the dolls moving in the pictures. Whether these dolls were part of a ritual, a collection, or simply an attempt to scare visitors, they have become one of the most disturbing things ever found in an abandoned place. Moving on, we come across another eerie discovery made by an urban explorer in an abandoned hospital. While exploring the abandoned building, they came across a room filled with medical equipment and instruments. Among them was a device that looked like a medieval torture device, complete with chains and hooks. It was a shock to see such a gruesome instrument in a place that was once meant to heal people. The explorer couldn't help but wonder about the suffering it must have caused and how it was used. They took pictures and videos of the device and posted them online, where they received a lot of attention. People were shocked and horrified by the image of this torture device and the thought of its being used in a hospital. It was a reminder of the dark side of medical history and the lengths to which some people would go to inflict pain and suffering on others. Finally, let's discuss a disturbing discovery made by an urban explorer in an abandoned asylum. While exploring the dilapidated building, they came across a padded cell, a room that was designed to restrain and isolate patients. What they found inside the cell was a collection of restraints, including straitjackets and leather straps that were used to keep patients from harming themselves or others. It was a sobering sight that made the explorer reflect on the inhumane treatment that was once commonplace in asylums. They took photos of the restraints and posted them online, where they sparked outrage and calls for justice. People were horrified by the image of these restraints and the knowledge that they were used on vulnerable patients. It was a testament to the dark history of mental health institutions and the urgent need for reform. These are just a few examples of the many disturbing things that have been found in abandoned places, from haunted dolls to torture devices and restraints. These discoveries offer a glimpse into the darkest corners of human history and the unsettling realities of our world. It is important to remember that these are not just objects, but rather relics of a past that should never be forgotten. By learning about and sharing these stories, we can honor the victims and survivors and work towards creating a better future. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on our latest content. Let us know in the comments section below which discovery you found the most intriguing and why. Thank you for watching.